I'm Draco Self-Important, and I think you should listen to me. I also think you should like and subscribe. Okay, so today you are going to listen to me talk based a little bit on a comment, and then we're going to talk about sexuality. Um, because I think that if we explore a broader knowledge of sexuality in general, you might get what I'm saying when I say that, like, you're looking for people who are attracted to personality. If in fact you are not the bro who is just walking into a bar and picking up chicks, right? But we'll get there. Because someone brought something up that I think is a good analogy, but I don't think in the way that he thinks is a good analogy. But at any rate, we have Sailor 15 Galaxy 10. Something I wish would be part of this conversation is if people would say that it's okay to feel bad about not getting something you want. If someone wants a particular form of affection, intimacy, romance, connection, etc., and they have negative feelings towards not getting it, that's okay. I wish this wasn't treated like a character flaw that inherently needs fixing. It also feels like advice for incels from the outside always comes from people who openly can't relate to the struggle or even believe that it exists. When incels first became an online community, it was a lot of people's first time expressing that they were lonely and upset guys of the about that part of their life. I don't know what's it. Unfortunately, the subcommunity has developed into a cesspool of resentment and disdain. I feel I can compare this to pro anorexia Tumblr slash MySpace. Back then, those young people were struggling with EDs and beauty standards of a broader culture. Telling them that they were vain and self centered wasn't the solution. Part of helping them was identifying the truths in their struggles. Okay, so a couple of things. Let's start with the beginning there. I don't think that there's anything wrong with being like, I'm, upset that I'm not having the kind of relationship or anything else in life that, like, you are not having, right? Like, yeah, it's perfectly reasonable to be like, oh, I want a girlfriend. I don't have one. That's a bummer. But, like, if you make that your identity, it kind of festers into a cesspool. Um, Now let's talk about the bringing up of the pro Anna community, if you will. Hi, in my early 20s, that was the only reason I had a Tumblr, because my dumbass was online looking for thinspo, trying to fuck myself up even more. Because, boy, howdy. Yeah, when my second husband was deployed, because in my early 20s, I was already on marriage number two. Moron. Uh, you can learn to make better decisions, I swear. I've done it. You don't have to start perfect. Um, but I was doing all of the things, right? The abuse of diet pills, abuse of laxatives, overeating, undereating, binging, purging, all of the things at different times, the over exercising, like literally all of the things. Like my official diagnosis is EDNOS, eating disorder not otherwise specified, because I can't do anything a little bit or can't do anything just the once. No, I'm everything all the time. Yeah, so um, I'm well aware of this community, right? So the reason that I think that this analogy works is because um, well, it doesn't. It doesn't. Here's the thing, man. Um, Eating disorders are like actual things, right? They're like actual mental health issues that people suffer with that are like diagnosable in the DSM. Ain't nothing in the DSM cohesively gathering together incels. Not a single fucking disease in there, man. Like, maybe depression, maybe anxiety, maybe a number of mental health conditions with which I also suffer. But there's so, although I agree that it is insular and it feeds negativity in on itself and it is poison for the people within the community, I disagree in the source material. Because you see, incel isn't a fucking disorder. Like, it's just a label guys slap on themselves, and sometimes people throw it as an insult. But it's like, right? Eating disorders, actual quantifiable thing with symptoms list, like, right, like, you know. um so yeah, um it is perfectly acceptable to be unhappy about your situation in life, but it is like, is it acceptable to you to dwell in that unhappiness and do nothing to try to improve your life? Because if you had an eating disorder, I would encourage you to get the fuck out of those communities and pursue some treatment for that. Like, not the internet would be, if we're talking eating disorder, get the fuck off the internet. You just pack your happy ass up and don't fucking talk to a goddamn person on the internet about anything you are ever going to eat ever again in your life. Talk to people in your real life that you can vet for their credentials, and don't fucking listen to anyone else. That's my eating disorder advice. um yeah, but my incel advice is, it's a state of mind, man. And if you sit yourself in that community and all you hear is this negative bullshit telling you how fucking shitty you are and how you can't and how you'll never will and how it's totally out of your control and how all women are just shitty and there is no self-help happening there. This is not like a self-help, like, support kind of community. This is exactly like the eating disordered shit. This is festering open wounds. Like, I am here to try to tell you to, like, make yourself into a person that you like. And I believe that when you do that, you will naturally become more attractive to other people. But even if you don't, hey, maybe you won't be so miserable on your own, right? There are people looking for this advice, and the advice that's being given fucking sucks. So I'm trying to fill a void here. Like, just genuinely, the advice that is out there is just gross, and it's either trying to train dudes to manipulate women, or it's just like, I don't know, man. Just none of it ever strikes me as anything that I would ever want to witness happening in front of me, let alone like the sort of behavior that I would want to have someone try, like, as no thank you. Yeah, granted, not looking and also not the target demographic for most incels, right? So like, but like the approaches that they're coaching to are just fucking abysmal. And I mean, really, can we just, like, I don't know, have some friends, maybe work on the shit going on inside of your head if being alone is not a pleasant experience for you? If you can't sit alone with your thoughts and, have that not constantly suck, then what do you need to work on? What's missing? Because my whole deal is, the thing that is keeping you from attracting a mate is your hatred of yourself. And you should stop that, because you're probably a lot cooler than you think you are. And, if you are a person who does have friends, I encourage you to ask them. Now, granted, if you have straight male friends, expect them to say some stupid, insulting shit. All right? Like, dudes be like, that was, oh my god, that was one of my favorite bonding moments with my brother, was him showing me that stupid video of the guy going, everybody's playing whatever the fuck game, and the dude's like, what would you guys do if I died? They were like, I'd kick your corpse. I hope you do die. So like just a whole like asshole. So like, don't be surprised if you get a dickish joke, if that. But if you have people in your life that you can sincerely ask, like, you know, why don't you think I'm a piece of shit? Like, most people will tell you. Like, if they're people who do spend time with you, there's a reason why. You know, um, if you are not taking the time to like ever talk to anyone and like do your part in the friendship, like that's a thing that you could, I don't know, man. I just feel like the best thing that you can do is to go out into the world and get yourself just a core group of people that you can do things with, such that you interact with more people, because this is a game of exploration. This is just you meeting enough people until you meet someone who thinks you're neat. There's someone in my comments commenting on actually one of my friends, about oh, you were never an incel if you had an ex-girlfriend and blah blah blah, because he was talking about I think in his 20s, thinking that, like, feeling the incel vibes, right, and feeling very much like I'm going to be alone forever, blah 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 blah. And he got approached by a girl in the break room at work, and like, I know a lot of dudes that is the story. And basically, what I'm trying to encourage you to do is to be confident in who you are and like who you are, so you can go out in the world and be who you are, right? Like, yes, I have the diagnosed anxiety, right? Like, I get that this is not going to be an everyday thing. I get that there's challenges here, right? Like, I'm not, but this is the goal, right? This is the thing that you're working toward, because there are outgoing women who think that shy, nerdy guys who don't approach them are fucking delightful. Like, I don't know, man. I feel like I have so much more faith in you guys than you do in yourselves. Like, notwithstanding the assholes who come in here to be like rah rah bigot things, rah rah. I have no faith in those guys. They could change, maybe, but I wouldn't fucking bet on it. But if you're, like, watching this with any kind of, yeah, you're on your way to realizing that, like, you could be a happier, more fulfilled person. Yeah. So we move on now, because I again, the question of what the hell with this demisexual shit. What's the science or reasoning behind it? I don't quite understand these sexualities or why it happens. So, um, as far as the science behind different sexualities, and this is just generally like, it's a complex combination of genes and nature, nurture, is basically the long and short of it. It's like, any other fucking inherent trait, right? Like, there's a lot of things that we're like, well, part of it's genetic and part of it's nature and part of it's, your environment and how you're raised and blah 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 blah. So, the whole nature versus nurture thing, right? But to get into kind of the differences in different sexualities and the layers in what makes up one's sexuality, and having a better understanding of that, I think will really genuinely make it easier for you to understand what the fuck I'm saying when I talk about people being attracted to things other than the physical. So we're familiar, one assumes, with the because there are multiple spectrums to sexuality. It's layered. It's like an onion, right? So, like, there's the who you're attracted to, right? The you're ranging from, and now this is with this, assuming you are attracted to anyone, we will get to that momentarily. Stick a pin in that. But assuming that you feel attraction for anyone, the gender of those people, right, that determines your, you know, homosexual, heterosexual, bisexual, pansexual, um, demisexual, right? Which the demi and the um, you then get into the other spectrum of like just kind of sexual desire kind of sexuality, right? Like your drive for it naturally, and not just like libido. Like there are people who everything in your life revolves around when and how you can get laid, and then there are people for whom they could not possibly fucking care any less if you fucking paid them to. um so like that's what I mean. So we've got the asexuals, right? The not desiring the sex as like a driving force in life, and then you've got the me over here on the other end, and then in the middle somewhere is your demisexual, um, because your demisexuals, and there's a lot of variability here, just like there's a lot of variability with bisexual or anything else that isn't like there's a lot of variability everywhere, right? But if I'm going to make some broad generalizations here, right, it's not, depending on which way they lean toward the more sexual or more asexual side, or just right down the middle, it's not necessarily a case of not having like sexual desire. It's not like these are people who aren't like randomly getting horny, right? They may think about sex, they may, but as far as the attraction to um, people, right? Um, that is something that requires an emotional connection before it like kicks in, because the sexual desire is secondary for them to emotional needs. um Whereas for a lot of the population, and the whole sex sells of it all, that is, there's absolutely no need for an emotional connection to be sexually attracted to someone. You look at them, you either are or you're not, right? But there's definitely like I said, there's a lot of variability there. There's, because I've asked this of my partner. If you are new, my partner is Demi. Um, Now, Demi is a prefix that can be applied to anything. Generally, when one just refers to themselves as demisexual with no other adjectives, it's because they don't particularly give a shit about the gender of the person. So it's kind of like demi pan, but that just seems like too many fucking yeah. If Demi does the job, we could just leave it at that. Um, but you can be demi hetero, right? Which I think that a lot of people probably are and don't realize that they are. If you have had the experience in your life of being like confused by how sexually driven other people seem to be, but you're not, totally disinterested. Um, then we get the whole way to the asexual side of the spectrum. Now, this is not to say that asexual people will never have sex. It just the drive is not necessarily there, right? Like, it does not mean that they cannot enjoy sex. It does not mean that they cannot date people who, like there are different people with different needs and different, kind of social flexibilities to meet the needs of their loved ones, as it were, right? So I don't think, like, that's the other thing is, I think as long as everyone is communicating openly about what's going on, that like you don't have to be the person who is super fucking hypersexual that goes, well, I could never be with a demi. Well, because like, for me and my partner, like the emotional connection is there, and like there's never been an issue. Like if there's some major life thing going on that would stress out, like, I there's nothing like literally like people die and I'm like, you know what would be a great distraction? Banging. Like there's nothing that turns that shit off. It is probably something broken in my brain, to be completely honest. But um yeah, because I, as the super like hyper sexual person, still the emotional connection for me is definitely something that is important and preferred. I will do without in times of need, as it were, but it is definitely a bajillion times better. And the I don't know, man. Um, and like I asked him about like when he was single and like jerking it, and it's just a lot of fantasy, a lot of adding. It's like my out this is my outside observation at this point. The crushes, the like celebrity crushes, are all people he's got like parasocial relationships with, so it's like there's a one-sided emotional connection there, but it's enough to trigger the drive. It might not be real, but it's real enough for the brain to think that it is. And yeah. Um, so, Um, so I think on that whole asexuality to hypersexuality with the demi in the middle of it all, I think that there are a lot more people and a lot more women who are within that. And like the fact that we just don't even kind of think that anyone could possibly have a different kind of sex drive. Like when you are a person who is motor driven by like a desire to get off, as it were, the idea that other people are not, or like they don't think it's important or really genuinely need other things to happen before that drive kicks in seems completely fucking foreign, because that's not how your brain works. Uh, but this is I use the demi thing because I don't think that it is exclusive to women, and I also don't think that all women are like that. But I think that it is way more common than we give credit for in like people, because it's not an idea that a lot of people explore. And I mean that's the whole thing with all of this, and that's the whole reason, if you're not in the queer community, that we do all of this labeling and shit. It's trying to figure out who you are, because it's this incongruence, whether you be queer, fucking any asexual demi, fucking which is queer as well. But some people don't. Some people, ace, will not identify as queer because they'll be heteroromantic, and the A is in there, all right. Shit, I totally lost my train of thought because I misspoke. Oh, yeah, like there are it's the or whether you're trans, right? No matter what kind of part of the LGBTQIA plus blah, 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 rainbow you are, there's an incongruence, right? There's some part of you that's like, why do I not feel the same as everyone else? Why am I not doing things the same way that everyone else is doing them? What is off here? Why? And that starts you into this like investigation shit, and then that's where all the labeling comes from, and the changing of the labels as you go, oh, actually that didn't work. And I encourage you, gentlemen, much like the rest of us have changed labels when appropriate, you can unlabel yourself an incel whenever you choose. Uh, you do not have to wait until you get laid to take the label off. You just have to stop believing the fucking propaganda and be happy with who you are as a person to the best of your ability with the brain that you were provided. Um, you know, like, give a shit about yourself, try to like yourself, and then it probably won't matter as much if you are missing out on the romance of it all. But also, I think that when you like yourself, that really, like, it makes a huge difference, man. Like, you have no idea. Like, I genuinely, I mean that. You guys are, you don't get it. Like, there's a miscommunication here that, like, and by confidence I don't mean bravado, and I don't mean false confidence, and I don't mean being conceited. I mean the like, just genuinely, like, carrying yourself like you know what the fuck is up. You know, like, I don't know. Hopefully this has made sense. um I really think that you guys should give way more credit to the fact that people care more about personality, right, than you are giving credit for. And that there are people who genuinely do not give a shit what you look like, because that's not the part of you that they will be attracted to. And you guys keep telling me, nah, 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 and I keep trying to tell you, different people think differently than you. Just like you're not trans and I am, right? Like, there are many, 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 many people out there who require an emotional connection before they will be attracted to you, regardless of your appearance, right? Like, that's a pretty standard thing. But there are those people, and way more of them than you people are giving yourselves credit for, who, once they get that emotional connection, you could get hit with a shovel and they'd be like, but you're so sweet. So just have faith in yourself. I have faith in you. Now, go out, make some fucking friends. Do something nice for yourself. This week, leave the house to do something you wouldn't normally do that might involve you running into another human. I don't know, a museum, a store you don't normally go to a fucking park, leave the goddamn house. And, if you're feeling brave, talk to somebody. But if not, at least you got out of the fucking house, right? Um, Again, please like and subscribe. Hit the bell. God, I hate it. But I love you. Be safe. Make good choices.